afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the Women's Council of Realtors, Collin County Network, and we are here today for a real solidarity to continue the conversation. So we've started this conversation earlier this year as a challenge from the National Association of Realtors with Dr. Charlie Oppler, where he recommended that we all take the challenge to talk about diversity. And then we're also going to talk about the fact that there is disparity in home ownership with some of the impoverished communities. So without further ado, I'd like to take you through to talk about our mission statement for the Women's Council of Realtors. Our mission is we are a network of successful realtors advancing women as business leaderships in the industries and in the communities we serve. I'd also like to do a quick pledge of allegiance. So I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all. So if we could please acknowledge the Texas flag next. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, and indivisible. Thank you so much for that, for acknowledging our flags there. So for inspiration, alone we can do very little, but together we can do so much. So let's continue on with this conversation. I'd like to recognize any of our dignitaries who may be with us today. If you would please log your name, your title, and your network in the chat function so that we can acknowledge you. Thank you so much for taking the time to share with us today, and we are looking forward to continuing this conversation. So the first thing that we really want to get into is to acknowledge our state president, our very own state president, Miss Peggy Pentecost, with the Women's Council of Realtors, Texas. Welcome, Madam President Peggy.
Thank you so much, Charmaine. This is a wonderful invitation. Thank you.
Thank you. We are so excited to have you. So today you're going to be talking to us about the state of Texas.
Yes, I'm going to bring you up to date on what we have done thus far. We are really heading into gearing up for 2022, which is hard to believe when it's only October, but things have gone very quickly, especially now that we've begun to meet in person. So first of all, we started at the beginning of the year with largely virtual existence. But in Women's Council fashion, we did a marvelous job of staying in touch, using our social media, using platforms such as this, and being able to attend meetings all over the state. So this was a real benefit of the virtuality, and we have learned to use this kind of platform very well. So I'm very proud of everyone that has done so in their networks and done such a good job of reaching their membership and the memberships of many networks all across the country, 250 networks and approximately 25,000 members. So we're blessed with a community of support from our strategic partners this year too. We have had a banner year with support from them, and we are very proud that we have been able to deliver some pretty significant value other than just being in the Hollywood squares, which we have unfortunately been relegated to for the last couple of years. So coming out of that, and that feels really good. Our past presidents have stepped up, and they have this year done something that I have been waiting for 5 years. And that is they have finally put together this fantastic mentoring program. I think you cannot argue that one of my goals this year was to increase the talent pool for us to be able to get involvement from our members and leaders to step up and go further, not only in Women's Council, but of course, as our mission statement says, in the communities we serve. So I think you all witnessed the very beginnings of that when 9 people competed for 7 positions for district vice president this year. I was very proud. It did result in a very long governing board meeting, but that's the way it is. If we would have been in person, it would have been just about as long, probably not quite, because it's a lot easier when you're in person. But each time those ballots have to be built individually, so it does take some time. We had a fabulous mid-year meeting. I think you would also agree with me that there was great training and information offered at that time. And my heart was truly broken when I was not able to visit every single network in person. I did what I could with the parameters that were set by our state and national leaders and other contributing factors such as the CDC, et cetera. So it was a disappointment for me. I really wanted to hug everybody all around the state, and I was kind of cheated out of that, but we tried to make up for it as we've gotten closer to the end of the year, and we had a very strong emphasis on training throughout the year, where we literally almost had a mini orientation again mid-year this year. We have never done that before, but I am hoping that they will continue that practice in the future, because there is no question that that was very well received and people were very excited to be able to take part in sort of now having been in the job, getting a little bit of an idea of what it is they needed to know. And I think that they absorbed the information in a different way. So I'm proud to say that we had 2 membership contests this year. Both of them resulted in prizes for the orientation, our beloved orientation, where our leaders learn what it is that they need to do in the coming year in their new positions. So I think that was a great idea, and I hope that that too will be another idea that will be carried forward. We were able to increase our membership this year by over 30% from last year. So we now have nearly 1,000 members in Texas again, and I'm very excited about that. So, and as you probably know, if we get to 2,000 members, I have to dye my hair purple.
That's right.
So this could be an interesting year. So our annual conference, which is the conference that's held in conjunction with the Texas Realtors, we have 2 conferences a year. One of them is in February, always in Austin. The second one roams the state to different cities. This year it was to have been held in the city of Houston, which was so exciting to me, because how did the stars all line up for me that I live in Houston? The Texas Realtors annual conference was going to be here. And so we planned, because of that, to hold a really magnificent networking event. And while the annual conference was dashed by Texas Realtors, who had to call it off and make it the live events not happen, we went forward with our power event with their blessing. And actually, they were one of my top supporters and strategic partners. So we had a fantastic power event with in conjunction with districts B and C, who also held their meeting there in conjunction with this meeting. We offered the districts B and C actually offered a MCE class that was written specifically for them, and I thought it was wonderful. And we also had a panel discussion with some local, very successful people, including our own Rita Santa Maria, Tammy Bonnell of Exit Realty, and Rachel Luna, the title queen from Patriot Title. We had a keynote speaker from Impossible Listing. She's an international TV personality and real estate consultant. And so it was just absolutely wonderful. The only problem that we had was one of our panelist was unfortunately not able to make it because she herself contracted COVID. But the 2 days that followed were our usual spectacular training, and that was absolutely wonderfully done by our own members and leaders from our networks around the state. So, most important of all, I want to say that while I am nearing the end of what turned out to be a year of great rewards and devastating disappointments, every single member in this great state of Texas needs to know how proud I am of them for their contribution to the success of this year. And I can't express in words how moving an experience it is to be a state president, your state president. Dozens of people always reaching out to you, expressing their appreciation, and they almost seem to know when you needed to hear that the most.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also very grateful to my past presidents that gave their loving and unselfish support to me, not only this year, but also throughout my journey. So they were encouraging, and they are a lot of what has to do with why I'm here. I'm blessed to have so many new family members now and amazing relationships that I know will last me a lifetime. So, one thing I would like to say, Shar, is that in summary, Women's Council, the experience of it is a great opportunity to develop yourself as a leader, a realtor, and most of all, as a human. Embracing the D's and the I's and the S's and the C's. That has a new meaning when you're surrounded by them and learning to work with them for the betterment of the membership. So keep your eye on the ball, embark on your journey. You will have disappointment, you will encounter opposing opinions, and you will meet challenges personally and professionally. So take a breath, be grateful, and stay positive. Choose your words carefully. Make others feel loved and valued, because there's so much power in recognition. Remember, the most valuable thing of all is the human experience of love. So give it, get it, and you will receive it. Live it. And that concludes my state of the state for your state of Texas, and God bless you all.
Miss Peggy, thank you so much for your time. It's been an amazing year. Even though there's been, difficulties and things going on, it's really been an amazing year. And thank you for your leadership and everything that you've done with us to, continue to grow us as realtor and as leaders in our community. So we thank you for your contribution to us as well.
Well, you are very welcome.
Before I let you go, I didn't do you the service of reading your bio, so I want to do that before I let you go, if you don't mind.
Not a bit.
All right. So, excuse me, Madam President Peggy Pentecost. She is our 2021 Women's Council of Realtors for the state of Texas. She has been a member of the council since 2011. She is a proud graduate of the inaugural class of the Women's Council Leadership Institute in 2019 and has served on communities at local, state, and national levels. She has obtained several designations and is a major investor with TreePack. She enjoys utilizing her background as a trainer and coach to develop ways to successfully facilitate the mission of the council. She is passionate about the opportunity to serve with members and network boards throughout the state. Thank you so much for everything that you've done for us.
And again, thank you for having me here. This was a nice invitation.
Thank you. All right. And next, we are going to welcome Miss Belinda Epps. And let me just get to, and she's going to provide us with the housing update. So we're excited about that. So, Miss
So,
Epps, okay, our next guest, I'm getting some feedback there. I'm not sure where that's coming from. But our next guest, Miss Belinda Epps with Epps Realty.
yes.
Yes, ma'am. So let me just go over your bio.
Okay.
You were the 2020 Secretary Treasurer of Metro Texas Association of Realtors, moving into the Vice President in 2022. Congratulations. She also serves as a Regional Vice President of Texas Realtors. She is the President of MetroTex Commercial Data Exchange and serves on many local, state, and national committees. She remains very active in her own community, serving on the Downtown Mesquite Advisory Board and the Design Committee. She has been a member of Women's Council of Realtors since 1995, has served as a president, a district vice president, and a governor. Welcome, Miss Belinda.
Thank you. Actually, I'm the current Secretary Treasurer for Metro Tex, but
Thank you.
that's
No, thank you. Correct me. That's
well, that's
awesome.
okay. All these years just kind of run together anyway, right? So, I
Right.
mean, I look back and I love WCR. That's why I've stayed active all these years and kept my membership going all these years because I think it's a great organization.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
kudos to everyone who's been through the last 2 years in this challenging time. So.
Thank you. Thank you. So you are here today to give us a housing update.
Okay, so I think that for the main thing that I want everybody to understand is, our National Association of Realtors has really implemented a great opportunity for us to educate ourselves on this. There's no reason to not be educated, and I know WCR does a really good job with making sure we push this information out to our members, and it's right there, everything that we need. Sometimes you just have to go back to the beginning. What do we do best? One, go to your politicians. Keep pushing this information to them. Your city leaders. That's a great place to start.
Mhm.
Let them know that this is important to you to keep those things going. You know, Another thing is, if you want some examples of how to do that, happy to tell you. I was active here having to work on a piece of my own land to try to get under contract. And it was an apartment complex, of course. And, all the cities, as y'all know, they're all against any type of assisted living, housing. They hear apartments and they automatically go to that extreme. And
Right.
you know, it's frustrating, because here I am a realtor. I own this land. I want to promote, I want to do and provide what we need in this community. Um, and that's what I'm saying, don't ever give up. Just keep going back to your city. Keep going back to those leaders. Tell them this is what you want and this is what is needed. A lot of times they have their own agenda. They don't want to listen to what we think is needed. We're the
Right.
realtors. We know what our communities need. Just keep pushing that, you know?
Absolutely. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. You're right. We have to be vigilant in our communities.
Hmm.
We have to let our voices be heard in order to make a difference and to make a change.
Right. And even in not just residential, y'all think beyond that. Think commercial. And I do a lot of commercials, so I'm kind of passionate about that. In that, when you have a community, you know what that community needs, right?
Yes,
So a
right.
lot of times you have to, think about the needs of that community, and you have to find those people that will go into that community because a lot of times their mind doesn't go there.
Mhm.
Ours does because we know what our communities need. So
Right.
it's really important for us to just keep thinking about that too, because if you put a need in a community, the people will go there, right?
Right.
So, you know, I think Southwest Mall, great, great opportunity. I mean,
Hmm.
look what he's done to that
Yes.
area. I mean, bar none, it's taken him what, 5, 10 years? I don't know how long he's worked on it, but it's finally getting there. But he pushed and pushed and pushed and didn't take no. That's
Right.
what we need to keep doing. We just
Mhm.
need to keep doing that. You know, changing your housing needs. go in these communities. Y'all, everybody's got an investor in their back pocket, right? We all, if you don't, you need one.
Yeah,
So get those investors to go in these communities and make a difference. If it's just one house at a time, it's one house at a time.
that's right.
Everybody deserves a place to live, right?
That's right.
So let's get in there. Let's do the work that we know we need to do to help push this along.
Absolutely. So, one of the ways that you mentioned of how to get out there is to go to your state officials.
Mhm.
What are some other ways that we can get out into the communities? Volunteering? What are some other platforms that we can get out there and get noticed?
Yes, volunteer's a good one. And, in my office here with this downtown revitalization, another one of my members actually, I saw in her leadership. So I was like, you know what? You need to chair this. You need to, get yourself up there. She's now president of the board right now. So, even with our community events in the square,
Hmm.
we know it's a very diverse area. So we're doing things that will reach out to a broader band of people. It's not just the music, it's not just the art, it's not just the restaurants. It's you have to think diverse. You have to think a blend of everything. And
Hmm.
we, thank goodness her and I are in there because we keep bringing that up to, what? Hey, let's do this, let's do that. I mean, you know, um, let's see what we're doing. Oh, cookies and carols, for Christmas, just different things like that.
Hmm.
Um, any music, don't just always have Western music, country music, have different blends of music that bring different diverse groups in.
Right.
Um, we are lucky. We're very lucky that we're in a community that does, see that need and they listen to us. A lot of communities probably don't. And,
Mhm.
I think that's where WCR members can go in and make a difference. Get on these communities, get on these boards, make your voices heard. I mean, that's the only way that they're going to listen. You have
Right.
to lead by example. You have to be in there and you have to do it, you
Right.
know?
And it really goes back to what our inspirational quote said, that, alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. And I
Right.
think that it requires everyone coming together and understanding that, yes, we're different and
Mhm.
it's okay. It's okay to have differences, but let's bring our differences together to look at it from different perspectives in order to make it a better place. And like you
Right.
said, everyone deserves a place to live.
Right.
It doesn't
Right.
matter what color you are. It doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter that you're not from the USA. That's all of that is okay.
Mhm.
And I think that's what makes our different neighborhoods and communities different, is because you have different people, and
Mhm.
just not being afraid to work within the parameters with the differences that we see. And
Right.
that's
Right.
okay. So tell us, we talked about volunteering. We talked about, uh, I'm getting a question in where they're asking for you to share volunteer opportunities within the local networks and associations. So I think that might be a WCR, our Women's Council of Realtors question. So I'll come back to that one. Thank
Okay.
you so much for that. But talk to us. We've talked about getting involved. We talked about speaking to our state officials. We've talked about volunteering. What other ways can we get involved as realtors? And I think we should be on the front line as realtors. Would you agree with that?
Right. And that's what's so neat about WCR is they train leaders, and if there's a leader out there, they're probably WCR or they have background in WCR or they've had training from WCR, which is, phenomenal. And, although I was involved many, many, many years ago, I'm sure those values are still there. The training is still there. And it's stuff you don't forget.
Right.
So, Rotary, that's a community, volunteer. Get
Hmm.
involved in that.
Hmm.
All the I think about just about all the cities now have some type of Santa cop, to
Yeah.
help. make yourself out there visible with that, because that's putting yourself out there in front of another diverse group of people. They need help.
That's true.
That's what we do. As women, what do we do most? We're always help,
Helping.
right?
Yes.
So, you know, if it's in our nature to do it, just go out there and do it. Sometimes people need a push. I get it. They need somebody to say, I'm just not comfortable with that. Just mentor them, help them get through it. There's no reason why we can't be there for one another. How many times do you get called and somebody says, I just don't know what to do? I mean, it's like, don't call me with the child question because I never had any. I can't help you there.
Yes.
But, if it's something else, I can help you maybe. Or if I can't, do you know what? You always know somebody that can, right?
That's right.
So don't just drop it and say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Find a way to get somebody that can help them on whatever it is,
Absolutely.
I think another thing too is, if you're going to be out there and you're going to be, the leader and you're going to help, make sure that you thank everyone else. It takes nothing and it's free, to say thank you for helping, right?
Right.
So, if you're in that leadership position and you're wanting to make the difference and you're wanting to, go to your leaders and you're saying, look, we need this, we need that, you may get a no. It's okay. Thank them, but say, hey, look, is there anything else we can do? Let's talk about this further. Don't take no. If you take a no, you're not going to ever get there, right? I
That's
mean,
right.
there's always a compromise. There's always maybe a way to work it out. You just got to keep pushing it. Just got to keep pushing.
Wow. I appreciate you and your experience and expertise in this area. Um, for those who may not be a part of the realtor community, for
Mm-hmm.
those who are just living in the community, how can they get involved? What are some ideas and ways that they can get involved to help in the communities that they live in?
Um, well, I think the main thing is to figure out what their strengths are first. What are they good at?
Mm-hmm.
Because like for an example, we have a mesquite day where people come in, they can help other homeowners with repairs on their homes or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
you may not be a good leader, but you have a skill. You can help in that way. If you're a good baker, bake some cookies for somebody. And I think that's where it's going to have to start. Is you have to look within yourself and say, you know what am I good at? What can I help with? And that's what makes a good team, if I mean, it's not like, that's why I love diversity so much, is because everybody's so different. And
Yes,
if you can just pick out the skills that work with the best with whatever you're doing, it's going to be a home run, right?
that's right.
So, that's why it's so funny. Everybody's like, well, who's your friends? It's like, how do you not know who all your friends are? Because you need somebody for everything, right?
That's right.
So I don't know. I think that's probably the best way to do it. Just find
Okay.
what your strength is and just push them in that direction.
I love it. I love it. Before we move on to the next phase of what we're getting into, is there anything else that you would like to share with us?
I think with in an office setting, whether it's a real estate company, whether it's in a law firm, wherever you work, I think you just have to think about everyone else around you
Hmm.
and know that people are people, and everybody's got a bad day. Everybody needs help. Everybody needs just a pat on the back.
That's right.
I carry around Starbucks cards, $10, nothing. It's a $10 card. You
Yes.
know, say thank you with the Starbucks card. It's $10. It makes them happy. Everybody
Yeah.
loves Starbucks, right?
Yes.
Everybody loves it.
True.
So if they don't, they're going to give it to their kid. So, I think that to make a difference, you just have to let them all know you care.
Hmm.
And, I think caring is probably the biggest part of it. And, they'll see that through. They'll see that through. And then at the end, you can say, I'm a a WCR member. I'm just kidding. I got my training from. And how many times do you brag about that? We all brag about that. I was a
Yes.
WCR member back when, and I was
Mhm.
trained by WCR. So, I think everybody's resumes got that on it, right? And you recognize
Absolutely.
that.
Yes.
Always recognize that. So,
Right.
but anyway,
Right.
those are the main things I look at. So it's been great.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for taking out the time to
You're
be with us
welcome.
on today. We thank you for your insight and everything that you're doing on the different committees that you're working on. We just
Mhm.
appreciate everything
Oh,
that
you're
you do.
welcome.
Thank
I
you
look
so
forward
much.
to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're
All
welcome.
right. So we are going to transition into a panel discussion. And we have two dynamic young ladies who will be talking to us today. So the first is Ojas Tasker. She was born in Virginia Beach. She graduated from Rutgers College, Rutgers University with the highest honors with a degree in history and political science. She's worked in government and in real estate. Please help us welcome Ojas Tasker. Miss Tasker, before we get into our discussion, let me just welcome Miss Sandy Collier as well. The next panelist is Miss Sandy Collier. She has 20 years of experience as a well connected and well respected real estate professional within the Dallas Fort Worth market. She is a graduate of the University of Texas at Dallas with a BS in Business Administration. Sandy is passionately committed to community and public service. She's focused on economic development, economic empowerment, community revitalization, and fair and equitable and affordable housing opportunities and solutions. As such, she has dedicated skills in serving as the director of the City of Lancaster Economic Development Corp. She's a Metrotex Association of Realtors and National Association of Realtors. She's a part of the Texas Association of Realtors, and then the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. The list goes on with Miss Sandy Collier. So without further ado, I just want to welcome you both. And we're going to get into some discussions. It's going to be a panel discussion. I'm going to ask questions. But before we get right into that, I want to ask both of you, what does diversity mean to you? And we'll start with Otis and then Sandy.
Diversity is inclusion of all people, which is what makes America so wonderful. So different, having different people with different religions and cultures and backgrounds and histories and experiences just add to the great fabric of America. And having that representation just makes us all that much stronger.
I love it. Thank you. Miss Sandy, what is your definition?
Diversity to me represents inclusivity of all. It is exactly what the United States was founded upon. We are the melting pot. And we're at a time right now where our population is the greatest melting pot that we've ever had. The millennials now make up the greatest number of home eligible or potential home buyers, and they're also the most diverse population set we've ever had. And so it's important for us to understand that because it's going to affect the business that we do,
That's right.
and the people who want to do business with us.
I love it. I love it. You guys are on it, and you can definitely tell how passionate you are about this topic and this subject. So, Sandy, since we have you on screen, let's go ahead and start with you. Can you give me an example of what grassroots efforts we can do as a women's council to improve fair housing and redlining?
First of all, I think that it's important to understand what that is, and the history of it. A lot of people understand that there's a law around fair housing, around redlining, but do you really understand what that means? Do you understand that there's overt redlining And then there are ways that people are able to skirt around the redlining laws because it's still an issue today. So the first
Mhm.
thing I say is understand the law, understand the history of the law, and understand the constructs and the system, the systemic racism and bias that was built into the system and that still affects the system today. Because the truth of the matter is, these issues are still alive and well.
Right, right. So for those who may be listening, who don't really understand what redlining is, could you give us an example or give us the definition of what redlining is?
Sure. So the Fair Housing Act, which was a part of the Civil Rights Act in 1968,
Mhm.
was created so that basically it says, and I'm going to read the key provision of the Fair Housing Act. It When we talk about redlining, it specifically applies to the financing of a loan secured by a residential real estate, meaning that a bank may not deny a loan or other financial assistance for the purpose of purchasing, constructing, improving, repairing, or maintaining a dwelling because of race, color, religion, national origin, handicap, familial status, or sex of that loan applicant or anyone associated with that loan applicant. And so the history of it was that, banks literally drew a red line around a certain part of town. Most likely, and most every time, it is the minority part of town saying, we won't lend in this area, or they have limited funds, or there's predatory lending associated with um, these communities. And
Mhm.
so that is what redlining used to look like. And they don't do that anymore. And so when they came out with the CRA, the Community Reinvestment Act,
Yes.
for
Mhm.
banks to have to give back to the communities in which they serve, or that they don't serve. What they've done now, and if you refer to, and it's a really great article and video about banking below 30 in the city of Dallas, and
Mhm.
the issues that still are a part that the banks are still have a lot of opportunities for. The way that they skirt, or there's a way that you can skirt around the system that even I wasn't aware of. Now, what qualifies as investing, reinvesting in the community?
Okay.
Because they are still not granting the number of loans to minorities that they are supposed to be. If you go and look at their reports, there are reports that you can walk into a bank and ask to see how many minority loans they're giving. They're still failing, especially
Mhm.
below 30. But what they are able to do to be able to pass the HUD test is that they invest in all of these multifamily, low income multifamily units as a corporate owner, and they get credit for it. And that's their reinvestment in the
Interesting.
community. But
Interesting.
those clusters of minority homes are always settled in places that lack resources, that are in food deserts, that have a history of violence and crime, but they still get a score for it. And so that's an issue that's still being addressed. And so, like, those are some of the things that you have to understand and dig deeper, look deeper, ask more questions,
Okay.
because there's more there to uncover.
Got it. Got it. Very good. So, going back to the original question, what I gleaned from you is to understand what is going on around you and then to educate yourself about what's going on. Ask more questions.
Yes. The
All right.
history of everything is very important because it helps you understand how we got here.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, Miss Otis, can you give me an example of how you make other feel a sense of inclusion, belonging, and equity within your leadership role?
As the chair of the diversity committee this year, I have, and especially because we had to do hybrid or Zoom meetings all year, is I've asked all the affinity groups to send representatives, president, vice president, to our meetings so that the conversations about the other underrepresented, or all the underrepresented groups are included in the conversations about redlining and gentrification, or any obstacles to home ownership that have affected the people of our city of San Antonio.
Got it. So, and I'm going to ask you this question, Otis. So, what do you do to support all women in their leadership journeys?
So I have personally spent a lot of time helping new agents in understanding how to answer some of those difficult questions that we get about what's a good school, what's a good neighborhood, depends on how you define it.
That's right.
Also, I've been a part of ARIA Women's Council VA rep, and so by seeing all the different groups and finding ways that we can collaborate, we're able to help all the groups together in terms of rising up in leadership, and taking having a voice that represents different people.
Got it. Absolutely. Okay, Miss Sandy, what current practices exist today that can be eliminated or improved or repealed for that matter? You're muted.
I'm so sorry.
That's
Okay. There's so many things. I have as far as I made a list of things that I thought, what are we doing well? What can be better? What are our
okay.
challenges? What are our opportunities? And we can broaden tailored educational resources for the various demographics and content and language.
Yeah.
We are in Texas and we know that we are in Tejas. so and so you have to be able, and there's so many pockets of so many different ethnic groups that you have the opportunity to serve. So you need
That's
to
right.
understand, how to speak to them, understand their preferred communication styles. There's so much to understand. And
Right.
so that's number one, more targeted financial literacy education for future homeowners, which is one of the biggest impediments that we have to home ownership within the state of Texas. And I think it is the main reason that minority home ownership, especially among Black people, is actually in a decline. We
Hmm.
have less Black homeowners than we did 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Wow.
And so literacy, financial literacy, education it just is so important. We need to expand our partnerships with local governments and organizations that can lead the charge to bring about some of the changes and equality that is so desperately needed in housing and in lending.
Right.
Expand our outreach programs and promotions of benefits of home ownership.
Hmm.
um, of course, we know that housing construction prices, all of those things are affecting affordable housing, the supply chain crisis that we're in. That's part of it. I think that we're going to come out of that hopefully sooner than later. But
Yes.
that would change things to help make home ownership more affordable, and understand the growing geographical racial segregation, the pockets of minorities
Hmm.
versus others is getting wider and wider and wider. And the question is, why is that?
Right.
It's affordability. It is the ones that have the means, the financial means, the jobs and things like that that support them to be able to do some of those things versus those that have more challenges with that.
Hmm.
Um, there is a clear disparity between the targeted revitalization efforts and impoverished and segregated neighborhoods. Who's getting all the amenities? Who has
Hmm.
all the stores? Who's getting the new Whole Foods? Where do they go? Why?
Yeah.
So those are some things that can change. Expand the income limits for down payment assistance programs. I feel like, there's a lot of free money out there, but boy, they make that needle of that hole of that needle so tiny, you know.
Yes.
Who can afford a house, with what they say you need, you can only make this much, then how
Right.
can you afford a home? So I wish that HUD would expand the median income limits to
Hmm.
allow more families to be able to get access to that free money. Um, and just continue to fight against the disproportionate effects that student loans are having on minorities. We know that minorities are the largest segment that will have to receive student loans just to go to school. And so they're
Right.
burdened with that. And it's used against them in the financing process when it gets into the debt to income ratio. So, and I know that that's something the federal government is looking at, everyone is looking at, and Freddie Mac is studying it and things like that. So I'm hoping that in there talking about maybe omitting that in the ratios. And I hope that that changes. And
Right.
and just more innovative housing solutions for all. I mean, you need the city squares working on tiny home communities, which is
Yes.
great to affect the issues of homelessness and people that are your laborers that don't make a lot of money.
Right.
Combating homelessness. Different types of home solutions would be helpful as well. And then rural housing is experiencing a boom.
Yes.
People don't mind living out in those outlying areas because why? There's so much land, there's so much opportunity, there's housing availability there. So if you look at the stats, more homes are being bought in more rural areas.
Yes. And then
So
with the opportunity with COVID, the opportunity for more people to work from home is helping in that effort as well. Otis, do you have anything that you'd like to add on to what Sandy said?
So one of the issues that at the national level, ARIA and NAREP have been dealing with, which are two big groups here in San Antonio, are people who are averse to credit because of their cultural heritage. And so we've been pushing for many years for alternative credit to be included, for Vantage to be something that is universally applied by lenders to widen that ability for home ownership for people who have money and have a history of paying bills on time. They just don't have a credit score because they don't believe in debt. And so
Gotcha.
by adapting to different cultures, we will be able to expand that home ownership gap that still exists.
That's awesome. And what are some examples of alternative credit?
So usually when you're looking at a thin file, you look at are they paying their phone bills? Are they paying their rent on time? Are they paying, what other bills or other means do they have to show that they're paying it without? They'll buy their cars cash because they don't believe in credit. So we can't
Right.
look at those things, but we can look at, how much money they have in the bank, how much money they're, saving, and how much, phone bills and that type of thing. So
Right.
those are
and,
the other ways of looking. And also some of the cultures do kitties where multiple families will put money in, and then they'll draw a name, and that family will either buy a business or a home with that money. So
Wow.
they're using alternative ways, and if that can be adapted to a loan, then they would be able to buy a home that way. So that's what we've been working on, and I think Women's Council has been very supportive of, because we represent people of all ethnicities, and so we're able to work in partnership with ARIA or NAREP or anyone, SABREP, in order to expand um, that opportunity for others.
Right.
and might
Now,
I add one more thing, Charmaine, to
shoot,
add to
shoot.
that, two emerging things that you may have heard that is coming out that is going to be helpful. The government, the Freddie Mac, and things are trying to determine what can they do to further help people qualify for loans, uh,
Mm-hmm.
so that in their so that they're able to sell the loans in the secondary market. They're talking about changing, and they are in the process of changing the qualifying parameters to include number one, when you have two borrowers, it used to be that they would use the lower score of the borrower of the lower score. Now Freddie Mac is going to change their guidelines and allow you to blend them and average
Mhm.
them, and that is the score that they're able to use. so that it's going to allow more people to qualify. And also another thing that's coming out, because people don't like credit, and then millennials, I think that, millennials are changing the rules for everybody. Everybody's trying to adapt to
Right.
what the millennial lifestyle is. One of the other things that they're allowing now is that rent will be an allowable credit trade line on a credit
Mhm.
report.
Yes.
And so that's something else that helps build their credit file and help them qualify.
Right. That's awesome. As you can see, there are so many layers to this conversation. We could go on for days, just trying to peel back all the layers of all of this. I read an article recently that they had just released the stats from the census. So, what part do you guys feel the census has to play in any of this?
I think when
Well,
you look at the self-identification of people, we have more and more people that are identified in two or more categories of racial identity. So when we
Hmm.
break down the numbers, we now need to have additional categories to evaluate, whether there's a change or how that affects people. Um,
Right.
and so that is very interesting to me.
All right. Sandy?
and some of the way that the population, and it's very important to understand the trends that are happening with populations. Let me just kind of tell you how the household demographics are going as of now, because if you follow Freddie Mac, and I really would recommend everyone, if you're not following Freddie Mac, subscribing to their newsletters, being a part of, they put on a multitude of webinars that keep you up to date on all of the housing and lending trends. But
Hmm.
this is basically what they said. Number one, the greatest demographic you have right now is millennials, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
They are make up the greatest share of home buyers. And then, but you need to understand, because they are the ones that are going to have the buying power, because they're the ones that are making the most money. The millennials are making the largest salaries when you compare it against all demographics of the past. They have the highest salaries, but
Hmm.
they have the highest debt. But single women and mothers and millennials are the largest demographics that are going to be the next wave of home buyers coming out. The millennial household, where it was 16 million in 2015, now it's 49.8 million projected by 2035.
Wow.
Um, Households with age 65 and older, they're projected to go up as well, but nowhere near what the millennials are going up. And then, so that's one thing as far as population and understanding how the pattern of migration is affecting Texas.
Right.
With the great migration, that's and understanding where those migrations are coming from. The
Coming from.
different parts of the country make a difference, because their buying ability is going to be
Yes.
different. The type of homes they're able to buy, their buying power is different,
Right.
that sort of thing. So you need to understand the population and how it's changing, and also how it's becoming more diverse.
Right. Right. That's awesome. Great information here, ladies. One final thing, and I'll give you guys both the opportunity to speak on it, is what can we do right now today to express, to help the spirit of home ownership amongst everybody? What can we do right now? And we'll start with you, Otis.
I think one of the things we can do, as Sandy said, is just understanding the different cultures that exist in our cities. And so partnering with local community or organizations, other real estate organizations. Um, I'm a big proponent of food. So going to different restaurants and connecting to different festivals allows us to have a better understanding of the needs of the different communities that represent America.
Thank you. Sandy?
First, all of us need to embrace the fact that fair housing impacts all professionals, all markets, all neighborhoods. And we need to make sure that we're providing equal service to all. Freddie Mac conducted a poll for NAR, in 2020, and 77% of real estate professionals see themselves as the trusted advisors to our clients, especially when it comes to referring them to loan officers. And
Mm-hmm.
so we have a great responsibility
Yes.
because people look to us, they trust us. And so it is our job to reach them where they are. We have to get out in the community, spread the word, get visibility, get brand recognition, get out there, knock on doors, meet people, get
Yes.
involved. The best, it's just getting involved. There's so many ways and things you can do to get involved. Get
Yes.
involved, work your block,
I
work
love
your
it.
corner, work your
I
corner.
love it. Work your corner. Get involved. If there is nothing else that we've learned from the conversations today, is we have to get involved. We have to get involved. We have to educate ourselves. And like Sandy said, we are known to be the trusted professionals who are connecting our clients and people to other people in our industry. So we have to know something about something, and we need to be able to get involved. So I appreciate all of the time. And gosh, you guys, we can go on. I'm not ready to let this thing go. I mean, it's just so interesting to just try to uncover where we've come from, where we're at right now, and try to understand that why we're here. And then to peel back the layers to try to fix the fact that, okay, we're here. Where do we need to go now? So this was an amazing conversation. I welcome all of our listeners and the people that are watching, whether they be a part of Women's Council or not, to get involved. It's our responsibility. I think Sandy said it best when she said we have a responsibility to get involved and to know what's going on and not turn a blind eye to say that this doesn't affect me or it doesn't affect my household. Fair housing affects everyone. So I want to thank you, ladies. I want to invite everyone to continue to be a part of the conversation by following Women's Council of Realtors. We have several networks who are represented here today. So I would like to thank all of the networks who have been a part of putting this on. Collin County, Women's Council of Realtors, Collin County. We want to thank you for allowing us to have the platform to be able to speak to this matter. And again, you guys, let's keep our ears and eyes open. Let's get ourselves educated and let's get involved in our communities. So in wrapping this up, again, I want to welcome and thank everyone who appeared today. For the dignitaries who were not acknowledged, I just want to thank you for showing up here today. We thank you for your time. We also want to thank all of our strategic partners. So each network has strategic partners who help them in their communities. And we want to thank every last one of our strategic partners, because a lot of what we do in our communities cannot be done without the help, the love, and the support of our strategic partners. So thank you for that. This has been Real Solidarity, Take 2. And again, come on down and join us for continued conversations. Thank you.